אשרי האיש אשר לא הלך בעצת רשעים ודרך חטאים לא עמד ובמושב לצים לא ישב כי אם בתורת אדוני חפצו ובתורתו יאהב יומם ולילה וחייקת שתול על פלגי מים אשר פריו ייתן בעתו ועליהו לא ייפול וכל אשר יעשם יצליח לכן ורשעים כי אם כמוץ אשר תדפנו רוח לכן לא יקומו רשעים במשפט וחטאים בעדת צדיקים כי יודע אדוני דרך צדיקים ודרך רשעים תאבד.
כל אומר קרא ואמר מה אקרא כל הבשר חציר וכל חסדו כציץ השדה יבש חציר נבל ציץ כי רוח אדוני נשבה בו אכן חציר העם יבש חציר נבל ציץ ודבר אלוהינו יקום לעולם. A voice says, cry out. But I ask, what shall I cry? All flesh is like grass, and all of its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, and the flower fades, when a wind from God blows upon it. Surely, therefore, people are like grass. The grass withers, and the flower fades, but the word of God endures forever. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar binoteshe yarbitzeni. Al mei menuchot yinahaleni. Nafshi yeshovev yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech b'gates halmavet, lo ira ra ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha hema yinachamuni. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on paths of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod, they comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. So if Marty was born in 1922, it means he was born when Warren Harding was the President of the United States, and when stamps were 6 cents, and when a nice home cost $26,000. And in the same year he was born, they were just building the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. Transportation was different. Communication was different. Plumbing was different. The world was different. The map was different. And a lot has changed since then. But as much as things have changed, the core of a good man's life has not changed. The core of this good man's life has not changed. A commitment to family, a belief in working hard, a willingness to take responsibility for other people, and a sense of right and wrong. And he lived with those principles and others. His family had come from Slovakia, and he was always aware of his own family's journey. He was always aware that he was continuing a path started by his parents. He felt very close to his parents. He was linked to them by family history and by values. He learned from his parents. He learned generosity from his parents, anonymous generosity from his parents. Eric and Denny and Laura, you'd say you'd find out randomly all these acts of generosity that your dad would do for others, that he wanted or needed absolutely no publicity for. The importance to him was in the deed and not in the headline. He didn't need a headline. He just wanted a job that was well done. Marty and his sister Frida were always the best of friends as well as siblings. I know you spent a number of Friday evenings with Frida's family when you were kids. From a traditional upbringing, Marty maintained a love for Israel, and he helped to establish and support Beth Emeth for many years. He was taught, and he always maintained an affinity for his sister Frida and a responsibility to make sure she was doing well. The fact that his family would be moving forward in life was always very important to him. In career, in business, he had a practical and a rational business sense, a real insight. His mind was sharp as a tack. His mind was always working. His mind was always ticking during his lifetime. He was concerned that people not be taken advantage of in business, that people be respected, not undervalued. He advised you have to be prepared to walk out of the room. That's part of the strategy in a negotiation. He would want to advise you in your own finances, and this continued for you and for others into his final years. Anyone who met Marty or worked with him, even as an elderly gentleman, knew that he had great wisdom and wanted to share it, not to show it off and not to boast, but simply to help. Laura, you were always amazed at how rational and logical and objective your dad could be in analyzing a problem or an issue. Now, you all knew also that your father had very strong opinions on these and many other subjects, whether it be finances or politics or gender or socks. He always felt he had his from his era, he had certainly, the man's role was to provide. I mentioned before the Lincoln Memorial, undoubtedly, if he had been a little older when they built the Lincoln Memorial, he would have asserted that they had overpaid and not gotten their money's worth. He was a man who was into maximizing your investment and not being taken advantage of. You all had your moments of verbal sparring with him. You also learned from him, and he helped to grow your minds. Trained as an accountant, he was very good with numbers, but he didn't forget about people either. He had special relationships. He served our country in war using his organizational skills. He went into real estate, involved himself in all aspects. He was a very good closer, so to speak. He would make sure that a possible deal would become a done deal and that financing would work out for the customer. People liked him and they trusted him. He loved and respected his partner, John Fisher. They enjoyed a wonderful working relationship for many years. He valued John's wisdom, and it was an enduring and reciprocal friendship. His staff always had a family feeling of loyalty and togetherness during all these years. I understand Annie Haria, 72 years working for the company, working for your dad. Eric and Denny and Laura, you all learned the value of modesty from him. He wasn't looking to show off. He wasn't looking to lord it over someone else. But he was very proud of his journey and his family's journey from humble beginnings to being successful. He liked smartness in people. He liked wisdom in people. And he liked hard work. And he also learned a few things along the way. Eric, you worked with your dad. And some of that verbal sparring occurred as a daily part of your life. But you drew satisfaction from what you accomplished, and you expanded your father's horizons to include apartments, retail, commercial aspects of real estate, in addition to what he was used to doing. He also learned other things, I understand, along the way. He learned how to do his laundry at the age of 95, right? Never had to do that. He had to learn the art that had largely eluded him of making a bowl of cereal for himself. I understand that was a challenge, to pour the cereal and pour the milk, 2 steps. He learned yoga, I understand. And more recently with you, Laura, he learned yoga, and he also learned 74 plus years ago. He learned that his life would have been immeasurably poorer without your love, Sylvia. He met you, you were 18, and he was 22. Denny thinks you may have fibbed about your age a little bit, but you two fell in love. You brought a dimension into his life that he would not have otherwise had. A joy and a warmth and a nurturing. To use the terms of his trade, his life's balance sheet would not have balanced without you. You balanced him. I know the story goes that he bought you an expensive watch as a gift after dating for a while, but your mother said you couldn't possibly accept such a gift because that was more like a gift given to someone who was already engaged. So you said, okay. You get married. You must have really liked the watch. You must have really, I'd like to see that watch, actually. But you rarely ever, the two of you rarely ever spent a day apart after that. His military service, of course, but rarely other than that. He never tired of telling the story of how he met you, of reliving it, of reliving all that you had gone through together. Just as he never tired of being with you and caring for you in your recent years and in your challenges. Your parents saw themselves and their identity in terms of their relationship with each other. He relied on her for everything in the home. He was the traditional breadwinner. He inherited, as I said, from his era, the belief that men and women had different roles, and that's how they lived. You all told me what happened if any of you would ever want to pay for dinner with him. It just would not stand. He just couldn't tolerate that. He paid. That's the way things are. He believed in convention, and you could get under his skin if you tried to go against the convention. I know, Denny, you commented that after your father survived a tragic accident years ago, he also learned along the way that life is precious and life is to be lived, and not everything can be found on a balance sheet. And sometimes you move forward together in harmony. And so he was enormously proud as he saw his family expand, grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And there's no question he could already see the next chapter in his family's life take shape. I know the family is so very grateful to Angie and to all the dedicated aides who helped him and gave him company and companionship and made him comfortable in these later years. And in thinking about this and in closing, I keep thinking about the fact that your dad always wanted to make sure that whether in business or in finance, what did he say? Maximize your investment and get your money's worth. And I think that that theme can be extended to all of your dad's life. We can smile today and say, you know what? He got his money's worth out of life. 97 years, he got his money's worth out of life. He revered his parents. He loved them and he loved his sister. He got his money's worth out of life. He served our country. He was trained professionally. He was successful in his career. He got his money's worth out of life. He had the love of his wife, of his family. He grew to see great-grandchildren. He got his money's worth out of life. Respected in his field, respected in his family, well-liked by those he worked with, even to the end of his life, his mind working and ticking and sharp. He got his money's worth. He started in such modest beginnings. He reached success, life, and love, and family, and reputation, and wisdom. He maximized his investment. He lived with a good name, and he died with a good name. I want to call on Denny to come forward.
It's a very strange process, death, one that we all have to experience and go with. And I really thought I would be at least 70 before I just had some expectation in my mind that my dad would see me be 70. I mean, thank God I'm at 66, and that's an amazing run to have with one's parents. My brother made it to where I wanted to be. My sister far, far behind us. But it's just the image that I have of him, of always being there. And it's strange what thoughts go through your mind when I'm trying to evaluate my life with my dad. And one of the crazy things that occurred to me, I started thinking about Georgia O'Keeffe. I don't know if you're aware of her artwork, but my wife and I toured a museum of her works in Santa Fe some years ago. And when she would create a piece, the first thing she would do would be a very ornate complete replica of what she wanted to paint. And then there was a series of 10, 14, 25 paintings that followed that original piece. Each one removes something until the final painting, which was just a few lines or marks, was the essence of what she thought the subject matter was that she was painting. And so when I was sitting, I was trying to come to my life, my sister's life, my brother's life with our father, and distill that down to what our relationship really was. And if I asked any one of you to go through that process, I'm sure all of you would have a different answer. If I just asked you to distill my dad's life down to one sentence, to struggle with that process to do it. So I will try to tell you what it was for me and what I think it was for Eric and for Lori, but for each of you, it will be different. The other thing that came to mind is something that we recite here, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lekach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mivarach. The Lord gives, the Lord takes. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Adonai Natan, the Lord gave. What did the Lord give me and my siblings? He gave us a father that was as constant as a rock. I don't know any better description for him. He was always the rock in the lives of his children. And a man who taught us through the way he lived that one had to persevere no matter what. One required endurance, and most of all, one had to always be devoted to your family. And that definition of family was much greater than just our immediate family. Adonai Lekach. The Lord chose to take our father, my mom's husband, from us, but he left us with his vision, what he showed us about perseverance and endurance. Those of you that knew him in real estate would see him persevere and endure through whatever it took to accomplish a deal and do things in the office. And from that, he built up a very lucrative real estate practice. But if you are only able, or if you were misfortunate enough to only have seen my father in that setting, you missed the true essence of what my father was, because that was only displayed when he was amongst his family. If you wanted to see his soul, you looked at the way he interacted with us and with my mom. You each have your own examples, and they're countless. If I called on any of you, you could give me examples of what I'm talking about. And we'll talk about those, and you'll teach me and my brother and sister more of those examples that we're unaware of when we share the stories as we're sitting together in Shiva. But the key essence of when you saw his strength, when you saw his endurance, was in you watched him around the tragedies that my brother, my sister, and I have suffered over the last more than three score years. There were some horrific times. And through all those times, he stood firm with resolve and was there to see us through. He was there more than just to pick us up, because we fell numerous times. He was there to guide us and support us and unfailingly tell us in the end it was going to be all right. I had one, and sometimes he did this by the way he acted, but not necessarily in the early years being able to express it. And one thing I will tell you, that when I was going through a hard time a couple decades ago, my father and my mom were there to support me, and he wrote me a letter back then telling me that, expressing his feelings to me, but he was never able to give it to me until about a month ago. So he kept it for some 20-some years so he could give it to me so he would know. But we all, even though he never expressed it to us, we knew what he was and who he was. And if you weren't around to see him carry my brother, my sister, and myself on his back when he needed to, you just had to watch him with my mother. I used to, we would fight with my father endlessly about both him and my mother taking a cane to walk with. A number of years ago, we started this fight. We eventually won the fight with getting my dad to carry a cane, but he would never have my mother do it because he was her support. And wherever they walked, for I don't know how many decades now, it was hand in hand. During the last 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was with my dad in the bedroom with him and my mom when they were going to bed. And my dad fully understood the process he was going through and was quite impatient with it. But within that night, I watched him turn to my mother and say goodnight and say, "We will be together soon." He saw his love for the love of his wife, not just for this lifetime, but for eternity. That was who my father was. Adonai Natan, Lord, you took our father, a beloved husband of my mother, Adonai Lekach. But Lord, after you took him, you left us with the precious memories that I hold in my heart and that we all hold. Yehi Shem Adonai Mefarach. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And I pray, Lord, that you bless me with the ability to show the devotion to my family that my dad had for us. And I pray that as you remember my father, if you take anything from him, when you go home from the service, show your family how much you treasure them. That would be the best way that you can honor our Father.
Please rise, everyone. Oh, sorry.
אלא מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים. המצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במחלות קדושים ודגורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים, את נשמת משה שמואל בן יוסף ושרה, שהלך לעולמו. בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו, אנא בבל הרחמים, הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, ותצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר
May we remember all of the worthy and the righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. May he rest in peace. And we all say amen. Let's be seated, everyone. We want to offer our condolences to the family, Sylvia, Eric, Dennis, Lori, Joyce, Jennifer, Jim, grandchildren, Alex and Jesse, Eric, Adam and Sarah, Alyssa and Brad, David, Abigail, Abby and Mark, Emily and Joseph and Seth and Amanda, and great-grandchildren, Sam, Ryan, Nathan and Holden, Noah, Blair, Julia, and Ben. The family will be receiving friends following the burial portion of the service. It'll begin today at the Beachmont Country Club. That's today until 4:30 p.m. Saturday evening, the family will receive Wiggins residents and families at Wiggins Place, and that's 7 to 9 p.m. That's tomorrow evening. Sunday again at Beachmont Country Club, the family will receive friends, Beachmont Country Club on Sunday 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Please remain in your seats a few more moments while we arrange the processional out to Mount Olive Cemetery for the burial portion of the service. Pallbearers, however, should now come forward.